Hello, everyone. LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. We are live. Data Ethics for All Live is back with one more episode of the Ethics First live talks, where we bring bite sized talks on ethics first and what it means to be an ethics first leader. What does it mean to bring ethics by design into the workforce, into everything that you're doing, whether it is a product, whether it's service, whether you're building a solution, whatever role you are in, what does it mean to be an ethics first leader? And joining me today on this talk, very interesting talk we have stored in store for you today. And joining me are my fellow leaders from the Data Ethics for All leadership team. And I'm going to quickly introduce each one of you. And here's Susanna. Hi, Susanna. You want to give a quick introduction?
I am part of the Leadership Council, awesome Leadership Council at Data Ethics for All. And by my work definition, I am a cognitive science AI ethics researcher, an artist, and a writer. So I want to say all of that because today's topic is about all of them.
Yes, absolutely. Sam?
Good evening, everyone. I'm also part of the Leadership Council and Leadership team. I'm a teacher by profession. I have a background in data management, data analytics as well, and I'm really looking forward to learning about how we can work together as introverts and extroverts in a diverse environment in the workplace.
Yeah, very interesting conversation today. Kevin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Kevin Diaz. I'm also part of the Leadership Council. My professional background is in analytics in advertising. And maybe by that, you can tell whether I'm an introvert or extrovert.
Not really.
Not really. Well, soon you'll be able to tell. And my educational background is actually in mechanical engineering. How about now?
Well, I'm going to stop that, Kevin. So, I mean, being an engineer doesn't mean that you are an introvert. So, I didn't give a little bit of my background, but because it's about, team dynamics and our backgrounds as well as personalities and what role we should be choosing, I'll say a little bit about myself as well. So, I have studied engineering. Believe it or not, I'm a comms engineer. Did a master's in design, visual communication, and then practiced photography as a professional photographer. Did my first entrepreneur startup as a professional photographer, videographer, as well as collage maker. And I did a lot of design consulting as a graphic designer. Practiced 20 years of consulting as a marketer and worked as a marketer for big and small firms. I have taught at Stanford and Berkeley as a professional, adjunct instructor in business and marketing. And then I have been a mentor to NASDAQ and the MIT 100K launch, as well as a few other startup accelerators all across the globe. And then founder of Data Ethics for All, and to have found you guys with the team. So, we are having some trouble with LinkedIn, it seems. Okay.
Should we come back again or we start?
It says we're live.
It says we are live, but it's giving me that we are having trouble streaming to LinkedIn. This may be an issue on LinkedIn's end. We'll keep trying. Please check LinkedIn to ensure the stream looks okay. Can one of us?
Yeah, I can
the stream is showing up? All right, no worries. We are doing this live, and if this doesn't work, then we will have the recording and we'll upload the recording. So we'll keep going. So there you have it. Just amongst us, amongst the Leadership Council or leadership team at Data Ethics for All, now Data Ethics for All Foundation, we have such diversity in our thought process, where we come from, our education backgrounds, our geographic locations, our ages, where we are today in life. There's just so many. We bring everything to the table, and that's the fun discussion that we want to have today, about how personality and diversity in personality plays a role in the workforce, and whether um, one personality is better than the other in terms of opportunities for career growth. So let's jump right in. This is very exciting. Um, so let me start with the first very basic question. I think most people in the world understand that probably there are many more archetypes, but people understand that there are mainly two big buckets of types of people. One is the introverts, and the other is the extroverts. And all the other, the 16 personality archetypes, or whatever, how many ever they may be, there are always different types of Briggs Myers, whatever that maybe, they bring up very different types of archetypes, but two big buckets. What does each of them mean to you, Sam?
Yeah, I think I've been looking at a lot of different resources over the past few hours on a few days, and I think for me, an extrovert is someone that is confident and approachable and open as well to new things. And I feel, as I've reflected on obviously both types, it also is about being, comfortable in unusual situations, unknown situations. And I think they're the types of key characteristics I would associate with an extrovert. I don't know about you guys. And I'd say for an introvert, it's someone that is reflective, it looks inwards for peace and guidance, and someone that is quite quiet, and maybe quite shy. But again, they're the things that you think about when you look at the yourself and other individuals, so yeah, I think they're the two types of kind of descriptions I'd give for both. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Susanna, do you want to add to that?
What does it mean to me? Personally, without looking at all the documentation and all the research talking about them. Personally, it reminds me of the Augusta Rodin's sculpture, The Thinker. If you have seen that, I that's what an introvert means to me. It's like somebody who just sits by himself and is thinking, always lost in deep thought. There are
This one,
not
right? That post that is by him, right?
Yeah.
which
The
one?
one in the Stanford Sculpture Garden.
Yes, yes,
Yes, yes, yes.
yes. That's the one. That's the most famous, I think, one of his most famous sculptures.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah,
I
he's
know.
sitting like
It's
this.
not like there are no 10 people around him, standing around him, or holding up their hands, hugging and taking a selfie, or nothing of that sort. To me, that's the other end. For me, that what introvert means, somebody who's more lost in deep thought and who likes to contribute at a deeper level than just jumping in on everything. So that's what it means to me.
Okay, so you're saying extroverts just jump in on everything.
Yes, totally.
Totally. Okay, Kevin,
I
what is?
actually I love that analogy because I remember once telling someone, about what made me choose analytics, and like I just tell myself that analytics chose me. I think to myself that a synonym of analyze is overthink, and
Oh,
that's what I like to do in my free time. So obviously, I'm going to do it between 9 to 5 as well and do it well. But yeah, obviously, overthink and analyze are applied in different contexts, but at the very basic level, they're almost similar. And well, if you ask me what's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert, I would picture a party, an indoors party, and you know how like you have the center and you have the outsides, like the walls. I would say that the extroverts will be closer to the center and the introverts would be closer to the walls. That's something that I can visualize when I think about the difference.
That's
Wow,
actually
you
very
guys,
true.
yeah, very nicely. Like you all defined introverts and extroverts in your own very unique ways. And yeah, very true. I mean, I don't know if it is true or not, but basically, yeah, the way the world perceives extroverts is like, yeah, they're always like high energy. Like I could be probably classified as an extrovert, where I feel like if the whole day I'm sitting by myself and there are no meetings, or if I don't meet anyone, then by the end of the day I'm a little sad. I feel like, oh, it's not enough, I'm not really happy. But when I'm talking to people, I'm like, this energy excites me, and um, I get energy by connecting with people, and that really makes my day. Like, okay, if I just had a chat with even my gardener, if nothing else, I'll go out and chat with my gardener or my neighbor or somebody walking on the street, and that'll be like, okay, something, my day is made. I'll come back energized and I will get on to the next thing. So I kind of understand, textbook definitions, as well as how different people work in different ways and how they get energy from different people. So I just classified myself. How do you see each of you? Like Kevin also kind of led to that, but maybe Susanna and Sam, how do you see yourself on the spectrum? I know somewhere I read that it's a big spectrum, and it's not like it's not black or white, but most people classify themselves as one more than the other.
Mhm.
But then there is always a range. So where do you see yourself on that spectrum?
I think whether it's on Facebook or on Medium or somewhere, I put myself as a high functioning introvert. So that is my official title. I'm sure it's still there somewhere. That's I fall on the high functioning level of introverts, but the low functioning is the people who is actually the statue itself. Somewhere in a forest. The Augustine Rodin statue put somewhere in a forest, like nobody. I don't want anyone around. But not everyone falls into that neatly into that
So
category.
what
So
does high functioning introvert mean? That's a new term for me.
high functioning, low functioning means high functioning means somebody who is an introvert but will manage to survive in an extrovert's world. Will come to meetings, will show up, and will talk, and will and be engaging, will engage in conversations, will try out new things, can
Hmm.
still do that without damaging themselves mentally and
Oh.
physically. But that's high functioning. But then there are some introverts who, if they do that, they will be like completely burnt out, or or may even also feel emotionally disturbed at some level if they
Oh,
do
wow.
that. So that is the terminology.
That
High
is very
functioning.
interesting. I always thought that even though somebody is an introvert, they have good ideas. They just don't like to lead things. Like they may not feel comfortable leading a meeting, or being a public speaker, or being in front of people. Um, but they do have great ideas, and they collaborate well, and they do things. Yes, they like me time more than others, more
Mhm.
than extroverts. They like me time, they like independent work, but they still like to work with people. So um, yeah, I mean,
Yes. No, I don't want to be left alone on an island or anything like
yeah.
that.
So that's why I'm surprised that why do you add the high functioning? Like, aren't most introverts also, like, everybody is high functioning in terms of, like, yes, they function well. That is high functioning, right? If we don't function well, then we are not even capable of
It's
doing our
a
job.
it's a terminology borrowed from the autism spectrum. In the autism spectrum, a low functioning nonverbal is at the lower end, and then
Right.
high functioning is that people who are on the autism spectrum, but you can't even tell that they are on the autism spectrum. So that's it. That terminology is borrowed from there. That's what
So
it
why
means.
are we comparing introverts with
We are
people who
not comparing them. No, no.
okay,
It's just the high functioning, low functioning is borrowed from that
from that? Okay,
terminology.
very interesting. What about you, Sam? Where do you see yourself on the spectrum?
Yeah, I like the idea that Susanna suggested, that she's a high functioning introvert, because I think as someone that I think has always identified myself as being quite confident and outgoing over the years, I do feel that there is an element of low functioning extroversion, or maybe anxious extroversion, and I think I'm in that area. I consider myself extrovert. I'm quite approachable and confident around new people, but I do feel that I need time alone to focus and to regroup. But I do get my energy from my students. I miss the interaction I have during term time, and actually during even a work meeting. I do need that contact with other people, and I need to have those conversations. And that interaction. And that motivates me. And although during COVID I've experienced some developments in my own my own skill set, and I think I've developed that ability to reflect and to sit back and think about and be more focused on what I'm doing on a daily basis. But naturally I think I'd go towards the extrovert part, but I've learned that moment of reflection and peace is quite important in my life right now. Yeah, it wasn't.
No, that is true. Even extroverts need to sit back and reflect on what they are doing. They can't be good leaders if they are always like go 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 all the time. They have to come up with strategy and vision and introspect and make sure that their team is with them, understands their vision and how to lead them. That takes a lot of thought. You can't just do it without. Kevin, why do you think you are an introvert? I understand the analyze and the overanalyze part, but is there anything you want to add more to it?
I personally think that I'm an introvert because I tend to be very conscious of myself. And I can say that about different scenarios. Like, I think ever since I started working from home, I've realized that even more so in a weird way, I would say. You know what? I wanted to ask you guys this question, but I think this is actually the best time to ask it. It's kind of random, but
live.
Live. When you guys speak, on a video call, and then you're in the zone. You have a really good train of thought, and you're talking for like a good minute or two. Do you look at the camera or you look towards the screen? Do you look at yourself, or do you look at the other videos, like the other people? Which one do you do more of, do you feel? Because let me start first. I personally feel like I spend 80% of my time actually with the center of my focus on myself, which is a bit weird. And I don't mean this because I'm vain in any way. I definitely don't like looking at myself in the mirror. But for some reason, I'm focusing my attention on my own video versus everyone else's. I don't know why. I just find myself very conscious of the way I'm talking, the way my head is position, or things like that. Like I'm looking out for those things versus looking at all the other wonderful faces on the screen. What are your thoughts on how you find yourself speaking and looking?
I mean, that is a very interesting observation, Kevin, and I'm sure I'll let others speak. I think that just like you said, right? Like we have been taught like a good orator is somebody who makes eye contact. A good orator, a good leader, or whoever is standing in front of a group of people, to be able to connect with their audience, you need to make eye contact with as many people as possible. If you lock your eye contact with just one person and you only make them feel like you're doing this whole talk to them, then others feel like left out, neglected, and that's not the best way to deliver a message, right? And in live scenarios, I would say that so making eye contact with as many people as possible in the room is the best. And so that's what I try to do when I am on video call. I try to look at everybody else on the video call, like more than myself. But yes, I will look at myself to make sure that I'm still in the frame and being okay. But I will try to look at and also reading the room, right? So basically trying to understand what people are they bored, are they interested, should I stop here and go to the next, or basically reading between the lines, all those body language. So I try to do that in person as well as in a video call, as much as even though only very small portion of the body is visible.
I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting point because if you think about it, on a video call, you're never making eye contact ever. It's impossible. Like
True.
right now, I'm looking at you, Shilpi, but it doesn't look like it. And
True.
right now, I'm looking at me, and it looks the exact same, right?
True. That is true.
Interesting times.
Yeah, so probably others will not know that you are looking at me or you're looking at yourself. Good point. But yeah, I mean, I do that because I want to see whether you guys are enjoying this conversation or not, or you're bored, and maybe I should keep quiet.
That's actually a good, example of what an introvert and extrovert means, because the reason why introverts, when we give a public speaking engagement or something, we like to focus on one area, just lock eyes with somebody in the front, and that's where we keep our eyes on, and we think the rest of the audience won't notice that, or then they say, actually keep your eyes on the horizon, fix on a point on the horizon, so that it looks like you are looking at everybody. Those are all tricks we use as an introvert to not feel anxious when talking. When Zoom came along, we started looking at ourselves more instead of looking at the other people. And this actually,
Yeah.
there was a study that was done that actually found out that introverts were more emotionally drained because of looking at themselves, because this is called the mirror effect. Like, you are actually, somebody is holding a mirror to your face. This never happens in real life. We don't walk around with a mirror to our face, looking at ourselves when we talk. But
Yeah.
our brain, when it is processing that, is taxing us more than the extroverts, because the extroverts don't bother looking at themselves. They want to look at other people, and they get their energy from everyone else, so they tend to look at other people. So the Zoom meetings don't drain them out as much as it drains out introverts.
I
That's
learned something new today.
Me too.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't tend to focus as much on my Zoom video, but if I need to focus, that helps me. It helps me refocus on what I'm doing. But yeah,
yes.
definitely.
There's now a hide your view without turning off your camera. You can hide your own view. So when you do that, you don't spend time looking at yourself, which should help you actually, but I don't think it may not help introverts anyway, because we are going to be drained out anyway by any Zoom meeting.
And if you're thinking about how I look or you want to see yourself, then hiding yourself from that probably won't be effective, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is fascinating. Very interesting. And I also struggle with, so I personally, I feel I have never had this conversation openly about being an extrovert or an introvert with other people, even my friends or colleagues. So this is very interesting to me. And sometimes I feel like I may think that I'm an extrovert, but I have my low point. Like I shouldn't say low points, but difficult challenges as an extrovert as well. Because when I go to very large networking meetings where I don't know anybody, where I don't walk in with a friend, or I'm nobody I know, I do feel a little lost. Like, yes, the best strategy, like in the book, in the playbook, is to you can join any group and don't worry about speaking out, just listen. And the more you listen, and yes, I know all the rules, like, okay, networking, you don't want to um, talk about yourself or sell something. You want to connect with people and then let them be such an interesting person that they should ask you, like, what do you do? And that give me a business card. That's like the networking 101. Like, don't just go and talk. People don't like people who talk about themselves, so I know all that. And that's why I feel like, okay, if I'm not going to talk about myself and I'm not going to sell anything and I don't know anybody and I can't crack a joke because I don't even know what's going on, and I just what do you do? Like, where do you put your hands and what do you do, and which group do you go and join? And So that sometimes is a challenge. Does that happen to any of you?
All the time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I am. If I may, I mean, I've been in a situation before where I've been thinking, well, which group do I speak to? Who should I start having the conversation with? Do I just listen, observe, as you said, Shilpi? I think it's really important to do that, and then maybe start the conversation after. But introducing yourself can be challenging. Breaking the ice, it is quite difficult. Yeah, and even in big groups. I think in a smaller group, in a convivial environment, it's quite nice to be able to meet new people. But I think in a large group where you have maybe 60 guests, yes, it can be difficult for me. Yeah, definitely. I move around and make my way, but it takes time. Yeah.
It happens to me, even in virtual conferences. Now, when in 2020, all the conferences moved to virtual, and they had all these new, where you can be an avatar and you can walk around. Initially, when it first came around, when I went to one of those conferences first, I did not know that the people who walking towards you, they can actually, contact you and talk to you. And then people were just like Susanna, and they started talking. I got really freaked out. Who are you? Why are you talking to me?
How do you know my name?
Started moving towards the bushes and the walls, and I thought, okay, that's the safest place. There are like bush, images and icons there, and then let's say there was like if it says ethics first LinkedIn live talks, there's like a board or something. Even though it's only 3 words, I would stand there forever and in front of as if I am reading the board. Yes. And then I left, I said, I'm going to park myself in near the bush and just, so that people cannot make contact with me. A large, at least 2, 3 or 4 people started joining me near the bush.
There's a
And I thought,
place.
this must be my tribe. These are all the introverts.
Then did they just stand near the bush, or they started talking to you again?
No, they stood near the bush facing the wall. So I knew they were introverts.
Oh wow, it's fascinating. Okay, so all
I
of
mean,
you.
I think we should identify the difference between an introvert and a creep in this case. Right? There is a difference. It's not the same.
Of course, of course. I mean, you're talking about like somebody who's following you, and like that's a creep versus just moving away and keeping to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
There are similarities, but it's not the same.
Yes, true.
So, do you think that one personality versus the other has an edge in the workplace, especially in the work environment, towards getting better growth opportunities, better positions, rising the corporate ladder? Is there a difference to like better team positions, getting customer facing roles? We'll come to roles later, but like just in terms of opportunities, do you feel the world favors one type of personality, or the corporate environment favors one versus the other? Uh, we can, whoever wants to jump in can go first.
I definitely think it favors the extroverts. Those who are on the extrovert spectrum, I score higher on that. They are favored by the world in general, by corporate promotions and leadership roles. Because automatically they speak up. They speak up in meetings, they lead meetings, they are more engaged, they are able to connect to different people, network better. Even if everybody has an idea before an introvert even starts to speak, the extrovert will be the one that will jump up and say that idea. Better or worse, the person who first says it is always seen as the one that has come up with
Who
it.
brought the
And
idea?
Yeah.
sometimes even in group presentations, the introverts would be very happy to give the presentation opportunity to the extrovert in the room. And when you present whatever the project with the entire team, all our names would be on it, but still the person who presented it would be seen as the one who led the whole thing. So this, I do think
Okay.
that it
So I want to
favors
add,
this.
before I ask everybody else their opinion, I want to ask a follow-up question, Susanna. So this is a good point. So by definition, Introverts are somebody who don't enjoy leadership roles, who don't enjoy speaking opportunities. So they themselves don't want that. So it's a contradiction, right? Because now even if we want to give them, suppose a workplace wants to give better growth opportunities, better speaking roles to introverts, they themselves out of their comfort zone don't want that, right? So it's not like the extroverts came and took that away from them. The introverts gave it, sometimes gave it away themselves, or they did not step up on their own. So what according to you is the best way to help introverts take those roles, or ask them to be able to speak?
Mm.
I don't think introverts actually don't want leadership roles or don't enjoy public speaking or anything like that. It's not like we don't want all those things.
Mm.
It's just a little uncomfortable, more uncomfortable for us to do that than
Okay.
it is for the other person. It's like it comes naturally to somebody and it doesn't come that naturally to us. But that doesn't mean we don't want to be in those positions. It's just there is some block there, and that if society or if the environment around us helps us get around that block, then I think we get to shine. And that's I personally believe that, because that's how I found out, even though I don't want to be the person, leading a presentation or, giving a talk, I
Mm.
said, This is going to put me behind if I don't step up to the plate and start doing those things." And I
Mm.
started doing them. Whether it's not like, oh, do we enjoy it 100%? May
Mm.
not be, maybe 70%, maybe 80%, but I still feel like, if it's going to help me in my career, then I should do that. So and then in terms of it, we also benefit in the long term. When you
Mm.
look back, we benefit from those leadership roles, from those presentation opportunities, from the public speaking engagements. We
Yeah.
have managed to build something, we have managed to give back to the community. I
Mm.
just sent you the Susan Cain's, YouTube
Yes.
video in which she says the leaders like Gandhi and, Rosa Parks and all of them. Introverts and extroverts, all of us are mission driven. You are an extrovert by your own admission, Shilpi, but you are mission driven. You started this whole organization because you believed in its mission. So even introverts are also mission driven.
Mm.
So sometimes, the mission, your extrovert role is positioning you perfectly to drive your mission.
Mm.
As an introvert, it may not be positioning me perfectly to drive my mission, but I will be driven by my mission to go and speak. So that's the difference.
Right.
Okay.
I think a good example, if I'm remembering correctly, is Mark Zuckerberg.
Mm.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I read somewhere that he's an introvert.
Yes, yes, he
Is that
is.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Especially that the last video we saw of him
Yes,
on Meta. How weird and awkward was that video?
yes, yes.
But he's
Yes.
clearly trying, and kudos to him for trying as an introvert.
Yeah.
He's trying to make eye contact, make it feel and look natural. And clearly,
Hmm.
you could see that it was not that natural for him to speak that much and to articulate and those kind of things.
Yes.
Yes.
I can definitely resonate with him, and I can totally
Mm.
understand where he's coming from. But yeah,
Yes.
to Susanna's point, you have to kind of do it certain points in your life, and you know that you have to accept it. I think it's all about moderation. So for introverts, just to Susanna's point, we can't do it as much as extroverts can, but definitely it's okay for us. It's just it boils down to energy capacity and things like that, right? So maybe a question for the audience is, like, what are the ways we can still, as introverts, stand head to head or toe to toe with extroverts in terms of public speaking? Because now with us, being more technology driven, there are ways for us to like pre-record presentations, and like that's
Mm.
one idea, right? You don't
True.
have to be in front of an audience live.
True.
And that's
Yes.
probably what Mark Zuckerberg also did. I don't think even though it was streamed live, we don't know for sure if it actually was live, and there's a good chance it
Mm.
probably wasn't. So like things like that are ideas we can consider and explore further to help
Yes.
introverts, in the realm of public speaking.
That
Yes,
is a good
and
point. And another thing, sorry, Susanna, did you want to add something
yeah,
to it?
I think he is right because in an emotionally safe space, you guys are all now publicly speaking on this podium now, and it's reaching millions of people. So, technically, we are able to do that whether we are introvert or extrovert when we are around surrounded by friends. So, in
Yeah,
a corporate world, I think that's what we should aim for.
it's
Yeah,
a good,
that's
really
that's
good
a
point.
very good point. So basically, it's I think we have all established the fact and we all agree to it that public speaking helps us, helps anybody who is able to do it. And yes, at times extroverts also have to step outside their comfort zone. I remember when I started a podcast. Several years ago. I had never even listened to one, and I was not a podcast listener at all. And I all of a sudden, out of the blue, that's what I do. That's how I am. I decided to. Susanna is great. She laughs at it because she knows that's what I do. All of a sudden, I'll be like, "Oh, let's do a hackathon." I've never attended one. I've never mentored in one. Let's do a hackathon because I feel like it. We should do one. So that's what we do. Then I go back and do all the research. So then I did the but it was stepping out of my comfort zone. The point I was trying to make is yes, there are things, and we know because doing this will help us. That's why we take the extra effort to go that extra mile. And that's what I think what you were all trying to say is like, even though if somebody is an introvert, because they know those opportunities are going to help them, because otherwise how will others know that you did this work or you have ideas, and you need to be able to communicate and present to the senior leadership that this is you, this is your idea, or this is what you want to do, this is how you want to change or start new initiative. um, so yes, if that means stepping outside the comfort zone and finding ways, maybe pre-recorded, like Kevin said, one is that, and one is from the leadership side. I think maybe we should encourage all personality types to be able to feel comfortable, to be able to share their views freely without being judged, and also sometimes, like if it's not their native language, it's not their first language, then also they may not feel very comfortable in speaking up publicly or in a team setting. And so those, I think, as a team lead, as a senior leader in an organization, we need to constantly be aware of the um, different diversity in personality types in our team, and encourage people who are not usually very open to coming like speaking up on their ideas, but definitely make sure that they feel heard and they feel that they're valued and their opinion matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
All right, so today is National STEAM and STEM Day, and Data Ethics for All Foundation. Now, Data Ethics for All is also Data Ethics for All Foundation, and we just started our new STEAM in AI program initiative. So, who wants to tell a little bit more about that? We'll just give a little teaser, and that will be the conversational topic for next week. So we'll just give our audience a little teaser on what STEAM in AI is.
My own personal, definition of STEAM in AI. Somebody asked me recently, "Are you a woman in STEM?" I mean, after all the women in tech, women in AI, they are now, "Are you a woman in STEM?" And I was like, no, I am not a woman in STEM, but I would rather prefer to be called a woman in STEAM, like because without arts and without sociology, I don't see myself in the realm of science because to me, both of them are integrated together. So I would like to announce myself today on this platform as a woman in STEAM.
That you already are women, and even Kevin is a supporter of, even though a man, but a big supporter of STEAM in AI because, yeah, he is part of this initiative.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Sam and Kevin, what would you like to say about our new STEAM in AI initiative?
Yeah, I think following on what Susanna said, it's actually encompassing our free STEM tutoring initiative, which is looking at not just the traditional STEM subjects, but bringing in sociology and the arts and social sciences and celebrating those and the humanities and how important they are. For our younger generation, for us going forward, for our ethics first leaders. Yeah, and I mean, our initiative is really to try and encourage young people to look at both parts of that spectrum, if you like, and work potentially across all disciplines. You know, whether it's in a team or as in a role. I think that's what I would say. And there's a couple of key additional subjects. We've got arts and engineering in there as well. Yeah. And mentoring, outside of STEM. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Kevin, anything to add to that?
I think arts is very important, and it's what brings the human aspect to technology, because so far, like within STEM, there's no, I mean, I would say that there's no human element to it. It's very sciencey, very technology. STEM. But thanks to arts now, we're also engaging advertising, in my opinion, because that's where you can apply, the whole human aspect the most. I think ever since we went from studying behavior to influencing and changing behavior over the past decade, arts is very important. Like to Susanna's point, sociology is an important concept to understand and to apply within STEM. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. And that's why, besides the traditional STEAM, which everybody knows is for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, arts and mathematics, we have added our own version of STEAM, just like our diet, our AI diet. We can't stay away from the double. But we also wanted to bring the linear as well as non-linear careers to STEM that lead to AI now, because there's just so much that can lead to AI careers, and it doesn't have to be a linear STEM or STEAM path that will get you there. And we'll talk more about what are the non-linear STEM careers and things that we have added to our definition of STEAM in AI. More on that next week. Stay tuned. Thanks everyone for joining us. And thank you, Sam, Susanna, Kevin. Very interesting conversation. I learned a thing or two new today. I hope our audience did as well. And I hope you guys also learned something. Let's continue the conversation. In the comments, please let us know what did you think about our discussion and what are your thoughts on all of this that we discussed today, how introverts and extroverts, growth opportunities for them are different in the workplace, and how we can improve opportunities of growth for introverts especially, because it feels to me like extroverts are going to find their own way and they find opportunities for themselves, but introverts need some help. So let's see how and what we can do to help them. Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.